and welcome to another installment of BMB Sports Talk. I'm your host, Rocco, joined here in the studio with my co-host, Brandon Hislop. Brandon, we've got a lot to get into today, so why don't you start us off?
This fall for Mepham, so many of its sports teams made it to the postseason, including some in the finals of Nassau County. Both the boys and girls soccer team made it to the playoffs. The boys, though, lost in the Long Island Championship to Amityville, and the girls lost in the second round of the playoffs.
And for football, Mepham varsity football team made it to the first round of the Nassau playoffs where they faced district rival Calhoun, but lost in a thriller in a one field goal game.
And finally, in fall sports, the boys and girls volleyball team had a successful season with everyone trying really hard on the team. We did get our cameras there for both of their final two games, and we're hoping to bring badminton into our selection next season. And Rocco, on this week's edition of Sports Talk interview, you sat down with football captain Anthony Novello. Let's take a look.
Our guest this week is Senior Anthony Novello, a captain of the football team and a nominee of the New York Giants Heart of a Giant Award. Welcome, Anthony.
Glad to be here.
Let's start by talking about the football season. A season with some highs and lows, both for the team and probably for you personally. But before we talk about the team, let's talk about you personally for a minute. You guys headed into homecoming 3-1 and had to lead against a Valley Stream Central team that had a tough quarterback while the game was played under the lights. On top of that, you were one of the nominees for Homecoming King. Then you went out early in the first half with a shoulder injury. Talk about the emotions of that night.
It was absolutely devastating knowing that instead of spending my last homecoming on the field playing football with my best friends, I'd be spending in the hospital getting my shoulder put back in place.
What were you thinking about when you felt like your shoulder popped?
I was thinking the worst of the worst. I was asking myself, was that my last snap of high school football, And it was just absolutely devastating.
But later that night, I'm guessing at the hospital or sometime, you find out that the team is leading and you've been named Homecoming King, and you decide to come back to the field. What's going through your head as you run back onto the sideline?
It was just relieving knowing that my team, my best friends, my seniors, went out with a bang with their last homecoming.
You're then out for a few weeks, and then you return against MacArthur in a must-win game at a new position in the game. Then you win in overtime. Along with the Calhoun game in Week 4, those have to be among the team's highlights of the year. What do you think the biggest moment for the team this year was?
I think the biggest moment was our loss to Manhasset. It was definitely a wake-up call for us. We started that game off rough. We tried to come back and came up short. But it was a wake-up call, and it was really that everyone had to be all in for the rest of the season.
You're also up for the New York Giants Heart of a Giant Award. What is the Heart of a Giant Award given out for?
So one football player from every tri-state area high school gets nominated for the Heart of a Giant Award, and you get put up 1 out of 60 people, and every week one person gets chosen out of 10 people, and then you become one of the final 6 finalists, and that's where I'm at right now.
When will you find out if you won?
I'm not sure, but I know that if I do win, I will be announced at halftime at the Giants vs. Titans game on the 16th, December 16th.
Well, Anthony, whether the Giants realize it or not, you're definitely the heart of a giant. Thanks for coming on the show this week. Mepham Senior Anthony Novello.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Rocco Anthony Novello is really the heart of the Giant. Nobody can forget that first drive he had in his first game back against MacArthur. That drive really had Anthony Novello all over it.
Yeah, he's a great guy, even better kid. There's nothing more you can say about him. College hoops is back in full swing, and the nation's top teams begin their journey to the Final Four. Brandon, so far, there's one team that's really catching my eye right now. Right now, that team is the Duke Blue Devils. I'm not going to lie to you, Brandon. I was a little skeptical of Duke coming into the season, and I thought their preseason ranking of number 4 was fair since the team would be led by freshmen who still needed to prove that they could play at the college level. I'm here to say I'm very impressed by these Duke freshmen in Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, and Cam Reddish and company. I mean, these kids can ball out and have shown that when they defeated the number 2 best recruiting class in the nation coming into 2018, Kentucky, by 34. So, Brandon, this brings the question. There's been a lot of talk and speculation that if this trio keeps posting 20-plus points, night in and night out, and a healthy Zion Williamson continues to dominate down low and in the post, this Duke team could go undefeated in the season and even have the best odds to win the national championship. So, Brandon, do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, definitely Duke will be the national champions. With Zion Williamson, people have been saying Zion Williamson is the next LeBron. Or people have been saying that they've never seen anybody like Zion before. Zion is the size of some great athletes in different sports. Zion is the size of Rob Gronkowski, who's an elite NFL football player, and that's in football. Imagine somebody that size, that height in basketball. Rocco, what's your take on all this?
Well, for one thing, Brandon, I think it's a bit too early in the season to tell whether or not they really will make it or not. But however, I do think that perfect undefeated regular season is possible for the Duke if their Duke's big three continue their level of play and they have shown and keep doing it consistently throughout the season. But time and time again, the best team doesn't always win. And in March Madness, there's too much at stake in a one-game setting. And history has proven that almost anything can happen. We saw it last year with number 16 UMBC over number 1 Virginia. And who could forget back in the 85 championship game where Rolly Massimino's Villanova physically stunned the Goliath. That was Patrick Ewing-led Georgetown.
Rocco, here's a crazy stat for you. The 79 national champions in men's college hoops, only 7 teams have managed to attain an undefeated season while also winning the national championship, with 4 of them held by UCLA. The last team, let alone to even come close to being undefeated as a national champion, was back in 2015 when Kentucky went 38-0, only to be stunned by Wisconsin in the Final Four to end their season. Almost a slim to none chance of pulling that off.
All right, Brandon. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Sports Talk. Make sure to check out our Instagram at BMB Sports for all of our sports updates. As always, I'm Rocco Law, here with Brandon Hislop from the BMB studio, and we'll see you next time, where we are always talking sports.